Hello and welcome to Conversations on Kotoku. Welcome to Conversations on Kotoku. My name is Irabna Ajiman and I'm here with the amazing KG, whose mom will be introducing very soon. Exactly. So my name is Irabna Ajiman. I am CEO of Wear Ghana. We are using the business of fashion to celebrate African excellence, inspire the next generation of African entrepreneurs, and create opportunities for women. We created the Kotoku line to honor African entrepreneurs and the people who make their journeys possible. And it is my pleasure to sit and have a chat with the remarkable Freda Obeng-Ampofo, whose offspring have become our props for this conversation. Welcome, Freda.
Thank you so much, Ira. It's a pleasure to be here and to, of course, have the unplanned, joining of these two kids. So, yeah, we're here for an excellent, interesting conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start this off with Kaeme. Kaeme, I remember the first time I saw the Kaeme brand. What struck me was the packaging and how the brand came through Kaeme. It's like, remember me, of course. And then you open the jar up, and what hits you? That smell. And without having to say anything, it's almost as if you can see what you're trying to do. You are taking shea butter to the next level. It's like you're teaching the world how to do cosmetics, is how I would describe Kaeme. What is it that you're trying to build with the Kaeme brand?
Well, thank you for having me, and wow, thanks for that. Really, with Kaeme, the goal was to, two-pronged. And I'll say the first one was to take Ghana and Africa to the world, because for so long, we've allowed others to kind of tell the narrative of Africa for us. And most of the time, it's not the most positive, right? So one of the things I wanted to do with Kaeme was to create an African brand made by a Ghanaian from Ghana, in Ghana, that is globally competitive with any other global brands. So to let people know, hey, Africans can also do good things, right? That are globally competitive. The other thing was to create jobs within the communities in which we lived, right? Because most of the time you hear that people want to go abroad, everyone wants to go to America or London to do something, but we can do better here in our own communities. And that's one thing that I wanted to show. And then thirdly, I wanted everyone, including Ghanaians, to know that we have really good raw materials here that we can really capitalize on. And we need to come to terms with what we have and really make it work for us. Yeah.
And I think that you're doing it. And for me, it's no surprise that we sit here today having this conversation with your beautiful children. Because Freda, when you show up with your full self. You show up as Freda, the mother. You show up as Freda, the woman who wants to build a global business. And I remember a conversation we had where you talked about, and I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you talked about what it is, the methodology that you created around, yes, I have a newborn baby, but I'm going to go out there and do the things that I have to do as a businesswoman, right down to how you chose to go about breastfeeding. Where did you learn this from? This unapologetic way of showing up. Did you see it being done? Like, where did you learn how to do that?
I think, so for me, it was like, okay, I mean, getting married, having kids if you have the opportunity. For me, it's all supposed to be part of life, right? It shouldn't be separate from life. It's just kind of like a rite of passage, really.
Right.
And so for me, going into marriage and childbirth and all of that, the goal was to just live my life,
right?
Really, not to be like, oh my gosh, now I have a kid, so I can't do anything. No, so that was one thing. And thankfully, the person that I married actually also quite understand this very well. And so that really helps a lot. I remember once we were talking about, oh my gosh, we're both entrepreneurs. Like, it's going to be crazy once we have kids. What are we going to do? And he laughed and he said, well, we live our lives. We were here before they came. So they come, they fit into our lives.
Right.
Like, if we have to go out, they come with us. And they have to be here because this is our life.
Right.
And so for me, that was really a confirmation for me, because that's really how I want my life.
Right.
I see motherhood, being married, and all the things that come with it as something that happens to me to really enrich what I already have.
Right.
I don't see it as a distraction or something that's supposed to bring me down, really.
Right.
So it's a blessing, really. So I just go with the flow. So for instance, today, these kids are not supposed to be here, right? I didn't plan for them to be here, but hey.
They're a great addition, by the way.
They showed up in their PJs, but they're here and we're making it work. So I just see everything as an opportunity. And so even with the breast milk, again, I didn't even know I'll have that much breast milk going into this. And it was my firstborn at the time. And the milk was coming, and I thought, oh, how can I have this kid be a blessing to other kids at such a young age? Okay, breast milk is gold. There are people who need it, there are babies who need it, so why not donate? So it's just, for me, seeing everything as an opportunity to make things better, to bless others, to make the world better, really. And that's how I go about it, and I don't really see a lot of things as bad things. I just see things as opportunities. Because today I could have been really upset to be like, oh my goodness, oh, the goal was not to have the kids here and all of this. It's messed up my mood. I don't know if I could even talk to a rap. But I'm like, oh, they're here. We now have 4 people instead of 2. Let's make it work, right? So yeah, it's more seeing things as opportunities and just making things fit into your daily life and what you do, and making all of that work. Because for me, it makes life interesting and it makes it different.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Yeah. So
it does.
Yeah.
And still on that, you shared how once you had your child, I think you had made that decision before, but the way that you chose to breastfeed him was to do it in such a way that you could be independent, like you could have your life and he would be well taken care of. He would have his breast milk and be nourished, but you could go on. And do you mind sharing that with everyone? Because I feel like there are a lot of women who have a child, or they feel like they have to make a choice between, can I still be the woman who goes out there and travels and gets the business done, or now that I'm a mother, does it mean that I have to take a break? And I know this journey isn't for everyone, but for any woman out there, entrepreneurial woman who is wondering, what are some of the tricks that I can pick up, because I do not want to pause? What are some of your ways, Freda?
I think for starters, you need to welcome this part of your life with, you have to be welcoming to it, for lack of better words. I think a lot of people, of course, it's a new season in your life. It's scary because, you know, for me, I hadn't had a baby before, so I had no idea. But I wanted to make sure, what I knew was that I still wanted to do everything I was doing and still have my kids. So I was like, okay. What I had heard from people was that if you want to exclusively breastfeed, well, it's tough because you spend so much time breastfeeding. The kid has to be with you all the time. So before the babies were born, I was like, let me do research. What are people doing? And knowing that I was a working woman, I was an entrepreneur, and I'm normally just traveling outside of the country. Okay, so then I did research and realized that people could pump breast milk, and I wanted my kids to be exclusively breastfed. So I thought, okay, I can breastfeed them. They can drink breast milk, and I can pump the milk and store it, so that when I'm not around, somebody can feed them. So I'm still killing 2 birds, right? They're still getting breast milk 100%, but I'm still able to do my business travels. And I'm not really compromising, right? In that sense. And again, it's up to you and your partner, because the person I married doesn't actually mind feeding the kids as long as there's breast milk. And he'll always be like, I can't produce breast milk, but if you have the breast milk, I'm happy to feed them 24/7. And so for me, that allowed me to be able to travel or work outside of the house and still have the babies have 100% breast milk. But it also allowed me to, again, still run my company without feeling like I'm compromising on anything.
Right.
And, you know, taking the entrepreneurship and not being at home, you know, on the side, pumping and having enough milk for my kids and some for others to donate to others also allowed me the time to have time for myself.
Right.
Because there are a lot of newborn mothers or, you know, mothers with kids that they're always with the kids. They're so tired all the time, stressed out, always with the kids. And so for me, the decision to pump actually gave me that time because I was able to take naps during the day or even when the kids were around because I didn't have to wake up and feed them directly. Somebody could do that. So there really, for me, there were a lot of pros in that decision. And of course, yes, like I said before, it allowed me to still kind of run my life without feeling like I'm compromising on anything. So I think for new mothers or mothers who are still trying to figure out how to get that balance, it's really up to you and how you want to do it. Just come up with a plan of come up with an idea of what you think will work for you.
Right.
There are women that just want to really be there and feed the baby directly from the breast because there's the
bonding.
Yes, and that's totally fine as long as that works for you. But just look at your lifestyle and look at what really works best for you. And there always, I mean, you'll be amazed. There are options. There are really options. And for me, the path I chose for me, I would do it again if I have to. And also, I think I would say the CSR aspect of it, which really isn't CSR because it's an individual thing. It just felt good to know that even at 1 month old, my baby was able to share his breast milk with other babies that didn't have access to breast milk or babies who were orphans. Like, it was such a good feeling. And, you know, indirectly, I felt like that was how I was teaching my babies to grow up, to be generous, to be giving, to be kind to others who didn't have or who needed something that they had. So anyway,
and here they are. Here they are, these generous kids. So Freda, this definitely shows just how strategic you are because this is strategic motherhood. Let's talk about strategizing for a small business. So here you are. It is a small business today, but it's meant to be a global business of tomorrow.
Inshallah.
Exactly. And the strategizing that needs, what's in your toolkit? What do you pick? What are the things that you go to see, this is where the business is today, this is where I'm trying to take it, and so I'm going to do, I thought that something had fallen, and so I'm going to do ABC. What are your methods really?
I think so. My background is in development studies and politics, believe it or not. And within development, my focus my specialization was on monitoring and evaluation. And so for me, looking at the business as a project, and really kind of evaluating it every now and then, and using the results from that evaluation or assessments to make the business better. Okay. So today we're 5 people, but we're able to make this much in revenue. Okay, these are the things we didn't do well or could have done better. These are the things we did really well. Okay, over the next 2, 3, 5 years, how can we maybe increase the amount of employees, and how is that increase in the amount of employees going to give us a return on investment, and what kind of return on investment do we expect from that? So it's more, I call it like iterative learning, right? Well, it's a term in development and elsewhere. Iterative learning, where you're constantly just looking at what you're doing, how you're running the machine. Is how you're running the machine going well? Is the machine being oiled properly? Is it too dry? If it's too dry, why is it too dry? What can you do to make it more oily? Just looking at very, very, very little details. and just making things better over time. I'm a big fan of growing slowly but growing well.
Right. And so growing slowly but growing well.
Yes.
Okay.
And that means a lot of details, paying attention to details. So for me, a lot of assessments that we do, we're not always able to do 100%, but definitely assessments, and always checking in with each department. What's going on well here, what's not going well. If your employees are not happy, what's making them not happy, and whatever is not making them unhappy, is this something that you have control over or not? Yes, we have control over it. Okay, so let's make it happen. No, we don't have control over it. Okay, then let's move on. Right. And just keeping that at the top of your priority list, because I also feel like if employees are happy, your customers are happy, and your operations are going to go well, because they're going to do the work they're supposed to do, and they're going to serve the customer right. And that means that the customer is going to come back, and that means your company is going to keep running.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely for a company that says, I'm going to be intentional about growing, I'm going to make this growth slow, but I'm going to ensure that we are growing in the right ways. You are measuring different metrics from the company that wants aggressive growth right now. What are some of what do you call success at the end of a year?
For me, success at the end of the year means that we're able to accomplish at least 80% of what we set out to do.
Right.
Okay. And that comes from the individual, and then it comes from the group, and then it comes from management all together. And so at the end of every year, we actually, for our Christmas party, it's a Christmas party, but it's also a time to reflect on what we set out to do at the beginning of the year. And then at the end of the year, we look at what we set out to do and see whether we did it, exceeded it, or are behind, right? So each department has different things that they set out as success.
And does that mean that each individual comes into the year saying, this is what I want to achieve?
Yes, so we have, I have an HR person that will sit with each of the employees and talk through their KPIs for the year. And that KPI involves, what's going to benefit the company, but what's also going to benefit the individual personally. That may not have anything to do with the job. Just personally, what do you want to accomplish? And in the past, some of my team members have said, well, I don't have a driver's license, and I would love to have a driver's license because it will increase my self-confidence. It will make me feel like an adult. It's something that would just make my life better. Sure, no problem. It's something that Kaeme can do for you, so it's not really a problem. Or someone will be like, oh, I just want to stay, I want to move up in the company, and that means that maybe I want to move from, I don't know, a cashier to like a production person or whatever. Okay, no problem. We just find ways and opportunities to make sure you get there. But the honors is also on you as the individual, because you have to have that interest and the work ethic to do that. Because if you're in a storefront and you're welcoming customers, it's great. Now you want to do production. Production has a different set of skills, right? So you have to be proactively wanting to do that. You have to have that desire. So it's a two-way street. And for lack of a better word, I try not to be greedy, because I genuinely tell my employees, listen, just tell me exactly what you want to do. No, for you, okay? Because I'll do everything in my power to make sure you can do that. So individuals set their own KPIs themselves for the company as well, based on the company's vision for that year or our goals for that year. And then we build that all up into the big overall company vision. So at the end of the year, we all sit down, we have something to eat, we have something to drink, and then we start talking and then see how far we've come and see, how we're going to do better the year after. So for instance, with COVID and everything, of course, a lot of people will say a lot of companies didn't meet their financial goal, and that's fine. some way, somehow, even surprisingly to me, we did meet our financial goal, which was so strange because we were close for an extended amount of time. But what I realized was that because people knew what our financial goal was for the company, even when COVID hit and we all got back, everyone was really pushing to make sure that we get to where we're going. And they knew that we might not be able to get there because of COVID. But funny enough, because everyone was just doing their part, surprisingly, we were all like, my goodness, we made it. So yes, you have to be very intentional about this. And as an entrepreneur, it's tough because as you know, even though you may have accountants and operations person and HR and whatnot, you end up becoming all of that. So sometimes you may not have time to do some of these mentoring or tutoring or make sure that things are where they're supposed to be. But I feel like it's a very important aspect of running a business.
It is. And I'd like to commend you for that approach, and just to dwell on that for a little more. It definitely sounds like you have a great company culture going on.
We try.
Where are those areas that you feel like that needs to be corrected? Are there any such areas where you look at a problem and you realize this problem comes from a certain culture that exists in the company that needs to be fixed?
I think for us right now, I think maybe the biggest, I'd say the one gap we're looking to fill is maybe looking for strategic partnerships. And this is something that I was actually discussing with one of the entrepreneurs here today. Sometimes you just feel like you've given your all, you've given all your ideas, there's nothing left in your brain cry anymore, like you've hit a wall, wow, break. And then you're just like, wait a minute, it just hits you like, oh, I know what I need, a strategic partner. And for me, what I mean by that is not someone bringing in money, because if you bring in the money, my brain, my ideas and thoughts have finished. I don't know what I'm going to do with the money. But I need a partner coming in with the new knowledge, with the expertise, with the new knowledge, with the expertise, with networks to help really take the business from where it is now to a completely different level. And I think that's kind of sort of where we are. And I see it both as a challenge and an opportunity.
Of course.
Yes. And so for me, business-wise, I think that's where we are, and that's our biggest challenge right now, like trying to find the right strategic partner.
You're right.
Yeah.
As small businesses, especially as small, ambitious businesses, one of the things that we have to figure out is how do we attract top talent when we do not have deep pockets?
Hey, madam.
Have you found anything that works? What's your method?
I haven't found a magic bullet. However, what I know for sure right now is that I have really good team members that really believe in what we do.
Perfect.
And you know, I try as much as possible to be transparent with them, so our team members know where we are financially. They know where we are. Like they know.
How do you manage that access to information? You know, how do you, for example, if people know other people's salaries?
They don't.
Okay, it's not.
They don't know their salary. So, for instance,
so there are some levels of control. What would the word be? It's not everything that's out there.
No.
Okay.
So nobody knows everyone's salary unless Ira decides to tell Freda that she earns 500 Ghana cedis or 5,000 Ghana cedis. In which case, that's fine. But as a business, I don't release to everyone what everyone earns. What I mean by transparency and making sure people know what's going on in the business is, for instance, if the company is struggling and is unable to pay you this month, I let you know ahead of time. And it's a group meeting we're having with everybody, including the accountant. Right. And everyone knows that, okay, we don't have money or we're not able to pay you this month, and they know why we're not able to pay you. It's not that we're not able to pay you, so we're not able to pay you. And then even with that, yes, we're not able to pay you on the 28th as we normally pay you, but we definitely plan to get you the money by the 1st. And by the 1st, we will get you the money. Depending on the situation, we'll probably tell you where we're going to find the money or why we're not able to pay you. If we have unexpected expenses that came in, that's why, because we do plan financially for the year. So we shouldn't be having such problems. So when these problems come, I sit down with the team and we talk about it, and everyone is on the same page. So that's, I think, that's what I mean by transparency, because money is a big part of people, what really pushes people's motivations. So I try to make sure when it comes to money, people know where we are as a company. In the same vein, when the company is making money or something big comes up and there's an extra bonus, I call everyone, like, guess what, guys, this month we made a lot of money. So everybody gets an extra something. Every now and then, depending on who is doing what, sometimes some team members are doing amazing that month. Like, I tell them, sales need to go. They're not even sales people, they're production people, but they're selling. So you go, you sell something, you come back randomly. This is your card. For instance, we had a team here from Canada, and you know, they'd been looking to buy Kaeme products for a while. And anyway, they found us last minute. It was, I think, like 6 p.m. The store was closing. So I called my team, the person working. I said, I know you close in an hour, but we have a team at, you know, this hotel. They need a lot of products. Do you mind sending some products? And they said, no problem. And normally you go, you sell, you come back, the money goes to the company, right?
There you are.
But randomly, when they make that exception and go, it's out of their way. And then at the end of the month, I'm like, you know what? Remember that day you went to Kempinski around 7 p.m.? It was out of working hours. You made 10,000 Ghana cedis, so you get 5%. And then I give it to them in cash. And they're just so excited because it's not something that they planned. But I think these are very, very small ways, small incentives.
And very valuable lessons.
We're not a big company, so we may not be able to provide you housing or give you a car or whatever, but they're very, very small ways you can incentivize people. And then I have a talk with them. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm hoping that things will go well and that we can keep doing this more. But I also want to let you know how much I appreciate you for even agreeing to go and do this, because you agreed to go do it, not because you thought there was money coming out of it, because you never get money out of it. But it's just my small way of saying thank you. So yes, small ways to incentivize people. Try and keep people updated on what's going on with the company. Like if I'm traveling for business, I try to tell them where I'm going, what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I do my presentation and I have them critique it, so that they're part of it. And then if they're streaming as part of the presentation or conference, I send them the link so they can tune in, so they know what I'm talking about. So it's just different ways. Or if we have a team coming from, an external team coming in to learn about Kaeme, instead of me doing the presentation, I allow them to do it. So it's just different ways. It's not always money. Sometimes it's also people wanting to build their presentation skills or networking. So you just have to find out what it is that takes your employees, and then try and do it and let them know that you're trying. And this is how you're trying. And for me, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people that are with us continue to stay with us. Because, you know, they feel like they get certain opportunities that they might not be able to get at different companies, and they might get 3 or 4 times more pay in cash from other companies than they're getting from us. But there are certain things that Kaeme gives them that they don't feel they will be able to get with other companies.
And no, these are very valuable tips that you are giving to myself, to viewers. Thank you for sharing. Where are you learning these things? Are these just intuitive? Are you just watching the employees and thinking, I think that this person, where do you gather this knowledge from?
I think it's a combination of different things. So I have every morning I wake up, I have alerts for all sorts of stuff. I have alerts for trends going on in the beauty industry, in the shea butter industry, trends on employee relations, all sorts of stuff, right? So I
Where are you getting these alerts from?
I do Google Alerts.
Okay.
So I have Google Alerts on everything. I even have Google Alerts on myself.
Okay.
So that if anybody mentions my name in the news, I get an email.
And let's drill down. How do you set up these Google Alerts?
So if you just go into Google and type Google Alerts, Google Alerts will be the first search point. Click on it, it will have you log into your email, and then it will take you step by step on how to set alerts. But basically, you're putting in keywords that relate to the thing that you want to get information about. So every time that keyword is mentioned anywhere on the internet, you get an alert. So for instance, you put Erabna Jima as an alert. Every time Erabna Jima is mentioned anywhere in the news, you get an alert. Yeah. So that's one. So I just read trends on my industry, employer relations, incentivization. So that's one. Two, I watch my employees. Try to figure out what it is their needs are, what I think they might be interested in or not. Three, I talk to them. Okay, you seem to eat yokogari every day. Is yokogari your favorite meal? Yes, no. I eat yokogari because it's cheap and I'm broke and that's what I can afford. Yes, I eat yokogari because I absolutely love it. I eat yokogari because it's the only thing closest to work. So try and find out people's motivations for doing things. That's three. Four, I've worked for people in my life before. And so I try to put myself in their shoes. Like if I was the one working for Kaeme, what would I want? When I was working for someone, what did I expect of them, right? You know, when you're working with 4 people, you're always thinking that you get your paycheck every month, so you're not even thinking about the struggles they go through, right? And every time something is wrong or you're always blaming your employer or whatever. So because of that, for me, it makes me want to, I think for me, that's where the transparency comes from. In terms of making sure that my employees are updated on everything that's going on in the company. So that even if they hear something in the news, they know, oh no, Freda will never do that. Oh, management will never do that. No way, right? But also it's setting them up as PR for you. Because if they know what's going on in the company, nobody can convince them otherwise, right? So it's a combination of things. For me, it's a combination of things. So I don't learn it from one place. It's from a place of having been an employee before and using that as a benchmark to see what my potential employees may or may not like. That's one. Reading the news trends, what are people giving, what are people enjoying as incentives, and also learning people's behaviors.
Kina has made you a grandmother because she's old, which means you're a very old woman. Where is Kaeme at that time? What's the future that you're trying to build?
I want a future where my kids and my descendants are able to live in a Ghana that's livable. And that means that Kaeme is thriving. Kaeme is a homegrown business that's operating globally. Kaeme is creating jobs for Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians. Kaeme is known worldwide, is making an impact, a positive impact. And that because of Kaeme, people are able to have livelihoods that are comfortable for them. And people see Kaeme as the brand that's making the impact that they want to be part of.
So clearly KG got tired of sitting on my laps, got tired of being there and has run away. We need to round this off. And before I haven't even asked what the last question would be. Thank you so much for first accepting, for showing up with them. I think they made it even more beautiful. So for the Kotoku collection, each of the partner entrepreneurs comes up with a one-liner for their variant of the t-shirt. And yours is, entrepreneurship is like jumping off a cliff. There's no telling what's at the bottom, but the view certainly makes it memorable. What does this mean, Freda?
I guess, you know, I love this because every time I think about it, it just reminds me of my journey. you come into this entrepreneurship thing, you sometimes, for me at least, you know, you just jump in without knowing what it is that you're getting yourself into, right? And then all of a sudden you thought it was just, it was just about being a boss and making money and being famous and all that. And you're like, no, it's about having an accountant or being an accountant. It's about having an operations person, but being the operations person. It's about being the person that has to stand in front of media and answer the really hard questions. You have to be everything. And you have to do all the administrative work, the paperwork, and still do all the fun work, and still be nice to customers, and just make everything work and make everything look perfect. So for me, my quotes really reflects what I think is the real life and journey of an entrepreneur. It's like a dark hole, and sometimes it could be quite lonely and painful and challenging. But you know, you're in that dark hole, you're in that loneliness, you're in that hoobla hoo, and then all of a sudden you just see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you're like, oh my gosh, all that work is paying off. Like, it's so worth it. I'm so glad I really embarked on this journey. I mean, so things do happen along the way that kind of vindicate you, that make you feel like what you did has been worthwhile, or is worthwhile, or is gonna be worthwhile. And for me, I've seen a lot of those instances. One of the major ones was when Kaeme first appeared on CNN. I mean, that's a story for later, but that was just like, oh my God. And then you have the daily or weekly or monthly ones that come from customers, where a customer sees you and they're going crazy because, like, oh my gosh, your product is amazing, and they're just going crazy. You're just like, whew, okay, all the many meetings at the GRA, or you know, whatever, it's paying off because one customer is happy about this product or something I did. So yes, that's it.
And it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing the story. Thank you for coming. We're wishing you and Kaeme continued success.
Thank you for having us, and long live Kaeme, long live Ghana.
Thank you. And of course, our future
leader.
Our future mixers.
She's ready to sleep, but she'll be coming for an internship at Ghana.
Okay.
They started mixing already. They're starting early. It's not child labor. They're just learning early, right? All right. Thank you so much for having us, Sarah.
Thank you so much for coming.